warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gandhi. It is the 18th of April 2024. Israel and Iran are just one fatal mistake away from a full-blown war. This is Ahmad Haqtalab. He is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's commander in charge of nuclear security. He has reportedly said that Iran could be reviewing its nuclear doctrine. The question is this commander hinting at the possibility of Iran building a nuclear bomb? Is this a nuclear threat? Now, since the start of this week, Israel and Iran have been on the edge. They have traded threats, told each other what and how much they are capable of. And now Iran is also saying that its hands are on the trigger. If Israel attacks Iranian nuclear sites, Tehran will reciprocate. This senior IRGC commander has said that Iran has already identified Israel's nuclear facilities. It is now a matter of who blinks first. Who makes the next fatal mistake? Will it be Israel? Will it be Iran? It is now Israel's turn to attack. Israel made a fatal mistake on the 1st of April 2024. Israel struck the Iranian consulate in Damascus. 16 people died. Among them was a top Iranian commander, the highest-ranking Iranian official to be killed since the assassination of the commander of Iran's Quds Force, Qasem Soleimani, by Americans in Baghdad in 2020. Now, this was not the first time Israel was hitting Iranian interests, but on that day, Israel dumped the rules of the proxy war. It hit Iranians on Iranian space. They struck an Iranian consulate building, not a proxy group, not a militia camp. On the 1st of April, Israel crossed the red line. It was a grave miscalculation. Details of what happened behind the scenes are just emerging now. Turns out the attack was not carried out in haste. It was not something that Netanyahu decided to order one dark morning. The plan to attack the Iranian consulate in Damascus was made 2 months before the D-Day. The war cabinet, in fact, gave its go-ahead on the 22nd of March. 10 days later, the rules of the game changed forever. Iran's response also was unprecedented. It fired 120 ballistic missiles, 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles. Now a war may break out any moment. It's a matter of one more fatal mistake. Did Israel not see this coming? Israeli officials reportedly spent a lot of time calculating Iran's possible response. Israel's national intelligence agency, Mossad, in fact, thought Iran would possibly respond by firing a maximum of 10 surface-to-surface missiles at Israel. Mossad clearly miscalculated. Even last week, when Iran was threatening a response, Mossad estimated that Tehran would not fire anything more than 70 surface-to-surface missiles. That was another miscalculation. And now these fatal mistakes, Israel's fatal mistakes, have dragged the region to the brink of a war. And Netanyahu is not done, by the way. He wants to respond to Iran's missile attack. Anything less, he thinks, could be seen as a sign of weakness. And so Israel's war cabinet now is calculating the next move. And reports say the Mossad chief has once again been roped in for advice. A former Mossad official, in fact, told the media that striking Iran's nuclear facilities is one of the options being considered. Will Israel calculate better this time? You see, since Sunday, the entire strategic equation of West Asia is being recalculated. The relationship between America and Israel is under strain. Egypt, which along with Qatar has been helping mediate between Israel and Hamas, seems to have had enough. Egyptian officials are criticizing Israel's planned Rafah invasion. Dia Rashwan, the spokesperson for the Egyptian Ministry of Information, has said, and I'm quoting here, "Does Israel fully understand the meaning of Egypt's warnings against entering Rafah? Will it choose this option to the detriment of the peace that has lasted for 45 years? Egypt is now preparing for an explosive battle. At home, Netanyahu's own coalition has gotten fragile. Everyone in Israel knows that Bibi is indulging in brinkmanship. Bibi says Israel will do as it wishes. So what does Israel, or should I say Netanyahu, wish to do? The exchange of fire between Israel and Iranian proxies has not stopped. After Sunday's attack, Hezbollah attacked an Iron Dome battery near Beit Hillel. And then Israel killed 2 Hezbollah commanders in a strike in Lebanon. And now Hezbollah have attacked northern Israel with drones and missiles. There have been multiple injuries, with 6 IDF soldiers being severely injured. So back to the question, what will Netanyahu choose to do next? Continue the proxy or indirect war, hit Iran-backed armed groups and tread more carefully? Or will Israel hit Iran directly? Either way, Netanyahu risks lighting an explosive fuse, one that can burn the entire region. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi says if the tiniest Israeli invasion will trigger a massive response, we don't know the damage Iran is capable of inflicting upon Israel. What secret weapons Iran has? Iran is now threatening to build a nuclear weapon. Yesterday, remember, we told you at length about how Western inspectors believe that Iran has all it takes to build a bomb. And experts believe that Iran can produce enough weapon-grade uranium for a single bomb in less than a week. Iran can also produce enough uranium for 5 to 6 bombs in less than a month. But if you are considering Sunday night's attack as a parameter to gauge Iranian firepower, let me tell you why you need to think again. Number one, even before Iran attacked, it made it known that it would do so. Tehran telegraphed its intentions well in advance, giving Israel enough time to prepare. Number two, Tehran fired slow missiles that took hours to reach Israel. Again, giving Netanyahu enough time to defend Israeli skies and lands, also giving Israeli allies enough time to come up with a plan. Every resource was pulled in. Reports now saying Israel used GPS spoofing. GPS stands for Global Positioning System. On Sunday night, Israel interfered with GPS data. It jammed the GPS navigation within its territory. Why, you ask? Well, in order to confuse Iran's missiles team and stop the missiles from locking targets using GPS. And guess who controls the GPS? The United States of America. And like I was telling you, every resource was pulled in. Jordan defended Israel, France defended Israel, the UK and the US shot down missiles on Israel's behalf. Some other Arab countries shared intel with Israel. Basically, the entire machinery was working to ensure that Israel is shielded. Alas, Israeli bases were still hit. Israel and the US have gone to town talking about how 99% of Iranian missiles and drones were shot down. But what about the remaining 1%? On Sunday night, Iran managed to break the multi-layered defense. 5 countries defended Israel. Iran still managed to hit Israeli air bases. What happened at Nevatim Air Base is only coming to light now. And where is the guarantee that Iran will give prior warning next time? Iran, you see, is already preparing for an explosive battle. We have videos, in fact, from Iran's annual Army Day.
ارتش جمهوری اسلامی ایران بود.
مأموریت شناسایی با مقاومت
also reports that Iran could possibly be acquiring Russian war machines to fight Israel. We will get to the details of that in a bit. But also experts believe that North Korea will be happy to provide nuclear weapons to Iran for money. And here's what you must note at this point. Iran is a master of calibrated warfare, which is why Netanyahu needs to be careful about the next step that he takes. He must also keep in mind whether Israel can even fight a long war. It has been fighting in Gaza for 6 months. Calling all reservists to the front line leaves Israel with barely any men and women to actually run the country. How long will the US support Israel? Look at Ukraine. It has been left to fend for itself in a way. Netanyahu must keep these things in mind while calculating his next move. Because one more fatal mistake could end everything. Will the next battle be fought between F-35s and S-400s? Will Israel and Iran be fighting using American and Russian war machines? Let's start with the F-35. These fifth-generation fighter jets are made by American company Lockheed Martin. The makers say the F-35 is more than a fighter jet. It is, quote, a powerful force multiplier with advanced sensors and communication suites, unquote. In fact, the F-35 is believed to be the world's most advanced fighter jet. It is 51.4 feet long, 14.4 feet tall. The jet has a wingspan of 35 feet. These are supersonic, multi-role fighter jets. They can carry up to 8,160 kgs of weapon payload. These jets can carry missiles, laser-guided bombs, joint direct attack munition-guided bombs. These jets can travel at the speed of Mach 1.6, which is almost 2,000 kilometers an hour. They can operate close to the battlefield, also from high above in the skies. And these jets provide precision air-to-air targeting and air-to-surface targeting. Israel, in fact, was the first country to receive these jets outside the US. It is currently believed to have around 36 F-35 jets. Remember, these are stealth jets and they mostly go undetected in enemy radar. Also, the jet's advanced sensors help it in gathering, analyzing and seamlessly sharing critical information. On its website, the IDF claims, and I'm quoting, the F-35 gives us the edge we need to take on groups and armies with even the most advanced technology, quote unquote. Now, how true is that? Does Israel really have an edge over Iran? Russia claims its S-400 missile systems are designed to detect stealth jets. These systems are also deployed in Syria, where America had deployed its stealth F-35. Let's just tell you a little bit about the S-400 now. It is a surface-to-air missile, or what is called a SAM. The S-400 has been developed by Russia. The system can intercept and destroy aerial targets. If we are talking about aircraft, drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, the S-400 is designed to detect and intercept stealth fighter jets. Quick reminder here, Israel and the US have stealth fighter jets. The S-400 system can simultaneously engage up to 36 targets. The system is mobile. It can detect targets within a range of 600 kilometers. It has a range of up to 400 kilometers and a speed of up to 4.8 kilometers per second. Now, long before the recent escalation, long before the recent war in Gaza started, Israeli officials were worried that if Iran's acquired Russian S-400, then it could complicate a potential strike against Iran's nuclear program. And in February 2023, an American media report said Iran is seeking the S-400s. This report mentioned two additional things. Number one, the ball is in Russia's court. Moscow decides whether or not it wants to sell the S-400 to Iran. Number two, delivery of this system could take up to 2 years. It is April 2024. The question being asked is, does Iran have Russian S-400s? And will Israel versus Iran become a battle of F-35 versus the S-400? We know that Iran has S-300s. That's the older version of this missile system, basically. Iran acquired them from Russia in 2016. They were part of a contract signed in 2007. Now, coming back to the S-400, do you think Iran provided all those Shahed drones to Russia for nothing? Surely some deal must have been struck. Surely Tehran received something in return, perhaps some Russian war machines. Could it have been the S-400? Now, any defense analyst will tell you that an S-400 is a real threat to an F-35 and vice versa. Actually, which of the two is a stronger war machine? Which of the two has the edge? Perhaps Turkey would like to answer that question. The US had given an offer to Turkey. If it wants the fifth generation F-35s, Ankara must give up its S-400s. And why is that? Washington basically said the Russian defense system poses a risk to its F-35 warplanes. And guess what the NATO member, Turkey, did? It dumped the American warplanes for the S-400s. Turkey, in fact, was building some 900 parts of the F-35, including parts of the center fuselage, the cockpit display, but Turkey chose S-400 over the F-35. Ankara said it wanted to focus on defense. Western reports saying a team of 17 Iranian officials recently visited the production facility of the S-400 in Russia. They were invited by Russia, and this was in the month of March. The whole world is watching the crisis in West Asia very closely amid fears of an imminent Israeli attack on Iran, or an Iranian attack on Israel rather. The question on everyone's mind is, where will the next battleground be? Will it be over Iran's skies? Will it be over Israel's skies? Will it be in Rafah? You know, the last refuge for homeless and devastated Palestinians in Gaza? Or will it be somewhere else? You see, a new crisis may be unfolding in the Red Sea. According to the Iranian news site Tasnim, the Red Sea is where Israel could strike next. And as a result, Iran has sent its Navy ships to escort its commercial vessels transiting the Red Sea. Now, as you know, since the Gaza war started in October 2023, the Red Sea has turned from one of the world's most important trade routes to a danger zone. Tensions in the region have not exactly died down. So the fact that Iran believes that this area could become a full-blown war zone is significant, to say the least. And here's what else we know about Iran's preparation. Iran's Navy is escorting its commercial ships through the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. And according to reports, the Iranian frigate Jamaran is present in the Gulf of Aden and will continue to the Red Sea. In fact, Iran's naval commander told local media that they are ready to protect ships of other countries as well. Remember, the Jamaran is one of Iran's more advanced naval vessels. It is equipped with an array of advanced missiles as well as sensors. And not just that, as part of its preparation, Iran has also started evacuating IRGC personnel from sites in Syria. Iran-backed Lebanese group Hezbollah has also reduced its presence in Syria and increased its number of personnel along the Syrian-Israeli border. According to the Wall Street Journal, the move is aimed at gathering intelligence about Israel's possible counterattack. And what's more, the Iranian spy ship MV Behesht, that's been linked to the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, has come home. This means Iran has removed an important asset in the area as it braces for a potential Israeli attack. Now, this is big. Behesht has been in the Red Sea since 2021. Iran calls it an intelligence and logistics vessel. Western experts call it a spy ship. The Iranian vessel reportedly left its position, which was near the coast of Yemen, on the 4th of April. And then it stopped broadcasting its location. That was until April 18. The Behesht reappeared near the Strait of Hormuz. And today it has arrived at Iran's Bandar Abbas port. What does all of this point towards? It tells us that the Red Sea crisis could escalate into a full-scale war. even if the worst comes to the worst, Iran looks like it is prepared. The deployment of additional Iranian Navy vessels into the Red Sea, bordering not only Egypt, Saudi Arabia or Sudan, but also of vital importance to Israel and Jordan, could be seen as an expansion of the Iran-Israel confrontation. It shows basically Tehran's readiness for a full-scale confrontation. It's because Israel is showing no signs of backing down. Despite Western appeals to exercise restraint, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared that the country will make its own decision. The US has imposed new sanctions on Iran, and now the European Union is planning to do the same. It is being seen as an attempt at mollifying Israel to persuade Israel to rein in its retaliation. But exactly how helpful are these sanctions? Remember, Israel attacked first. On the 1st of April, Israeli airstrikes targeted the Iranian consulate compound in Syria, and in retaliation, Iran attacked Israel last Saturday. Israel is basically saying it must retaliate to Iran's attack to preserve the credibility of its deterrence. But as far as Iran is concerned, the matter is closed. But Tehran has warned that it will retaliate again if Israel crosses the line. Iran anticipates a full-scale Israeli response. It is showing no signs of relenting from its escalatory actions against vessels perceived to be linked to Israel. In recent days, Iran has also increased its support for Houthis, leading to heightened activities in the Red Sea. Now, the thing is, Iran not only wields influence over the Houthis, but also demonstrates its readiness for a war in the Red Sea. For Israel and potentially its Western allies, a full-scale war in the Red Sea could be a more feasible option than attacking the Iranian heartland. After all, both Israel and the US maintain a significant naval presence supported by major European naval assets in the area. But the real question is, will the West be able to restrain Israel before tensions skyrocket in the Red Sea? The hours ahead will determine that. Let's go straight across now to our correspondents, Susan Tehrani and Jody Cohen, who have been tracking those developments very closely and to get a better sense of what things are looking like. First to you, Jody, at this point, what are you picking up in terms of what Israel's strategy is looking like?
Hi, Molly. So Israel's war cabinet, we're hearing, is set to meet on Thursday, and that's to discuss next steps. And at the moment, Israel is saying that it's defending itself on several fronts. Firstly, from Hamas in Gaza, and that's after Hamas's 7th of October attack. And Israel said that it must target the last remaining Hamas battalions in Rafah, as well as look for information about the hostages there. And we're hearing that the US and Israel are holding an online follow-up meeting now about Rafah. The second front is with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and that's after Hezbollah began firing rockets towards Israel on the 8th of October, the day after Hamas's attack. And the third major front is, of course, with Iran, and that's after Iran's unprecedented attack on Israel at the weekend. Now, a US official has reportedly said that they expect Israel won't respond to Iran before the major Passover holiday, and that begins next week and goes on for a week. But Iran has threatened, as we talked about yesterday, that a never-before-used weapon against Israel, and now suggested that they might review their nuclear policy if Israel responds. But that threat potentially could make an Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear facilities more, not less likely. We've also seen rockets fired by the Houthis and militias in Syria and Iraq. And what Israeli government spokesperson Avi Hyman says that they all have in common is he said that Iran holds all the strings. On the other hand, from speaking to people on the ground, a priority is very much to get the 133 hostages home, particularly as this Passover holiday is approaching. It's a time for families to be together, and it's also a festival that celebrates freedom. So this will be a difficult Passover if their loved ones are not brought home by Passover this year. Hyman also said, and I think this is an important point, he said the Israeli government won't broadcast its decisions on air, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Right, Susan, let me get you in on this conversation now. The fact is that the messaging has been out there in the open for some time now. But as far as the West strategy is concerned, what is it looking like at this point? Also with Iran threatening, it would appear, to make a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, Molly, I think what's really important and to look between the lines and read between the lines is when Iran says that it's reviewing its nuclear doctrine. For years, those that supported Iran and the JCPOA and the nuclear deal and said that Iran would never go near a nuclear weapon or nuclear capabilities beyond civilian purposes, they used the excuse that there's a religious decree called a fatwa by Ayatollah Khamenei against going nuclear. When Iran says that we're reviewing that doctrine, basically it means reviewing that decree and that religious decree that it had been hiding behind for so many years. For now, the United States is resorting to passing legislation condemning Iran. We just had one passed in the House with a handful of Democrats opposing it, and also trying to impose more sanctions and wide-scale sanctions beyond what the U.S. has done so far. The question is, if European sanctions and U.S. sanctions are imposed, they're not snapback sanctions. First of all, it'll take time for them to take effect. And second of all, Iran has been under sanctions for decades. It knows how to bypass sanctions. For example, working with China alone can keep Iran's Revolutionary Guard on its feet for eternity, if even, with China and also Russia as well.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Susan and Jody, thanks very much for those updates. And of course, we're coming back to you as and when we have further updates. A quick look now at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. Israel-Iran tensions have shifted America's focus away from Ukraine. Will Taiwan be left out to dry as well? If China invades Taiwan today, will America be able to defend Taiwan? That's coming up next. Also later on the show, China's stooge and Maldivian President Mohamed Moizu is drowning in allegations of corruption. The opposition is calling for an investigation and his removal. Is this the beginning of the end of Moizu's term? And we then tell you the story of the biggest gold heist in the history of Canada. All this and more coming up shortly. With the West Asia crisis, in a way, taking up all of America's attention, Ukraine has been left out to dry. It begs the question, will America abandon Taiwan like it did Ukraine? And I ask that question because the People's Republic of China looks ready to invade. By hook or by crook, it could happen as soon as 2027. If China uses military force against Taiwan, it could mean a direct war with the United States. And just how prepared is America to help Taiwan? Can the US really defend Taiwan against China? More importantly, can America fight another war? Let's just have a look at what's happening in the Taiwan Strait. On the 17th of April, that's Wednesday, the Chinese military scrambled fighter jets to shadow a US Navy plane that had publicly hyped its flight through the sensitive Taiwan Strait. Colonel Li Shi, a spokesperson for China's Eastern Theater Command, said that the Chinese forces dispatched Interceptor to quote-unquote monitor and warn an American P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. The Chinese commander said that his troops would remain on high alert to defend the country's sovereignty and security. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet said the P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol and reconnaissance plane, which is also used for anti-submarine missions, flew over the strait in international airspace. It said in a statement, by operating within the Taiwan Strait in accordance with international law, the United States upholds the navigational rights and freedoms of all nations. Taiwan's defense ministry confirmed that the American aircraft transited the strait from north to south and that no anomaly was detected around the island during the operation. But China clearly felt provoked by the US action. Remember, China claims sovereignty over the democratically governed island nation of Taiwan, and this even though China's long-ruling Communist Party has never governed Taiwan. China claims it has jurisdiction over the Taiwan Strait as well. But Taiwan and the US dispute that, saying that the Taiwan Strait is an international waterway. And the US has also not maintained formal diplomatic ties with Taipei for over 4 decades. Still, Washington remains Taipei's strongest international backer as well as its main weapon supplier. But then here's why China scrambled its jets on Wednesday. The American Boeing P-8 Poseidon is an anti-submarine warfare aircraft. Reports say that it can carry conventional weapons, including laser-guided anti-ship missiles. And this is why China sent jets to shadow the American plane. But this is not the first time China has been angered by the US. Chinese officials have often questioned the legality of America's frequent transit through the strait. It is part of Beijing's broader complaints about what they call regular close-in reconnaissance near the Chinese coastline. The US Navy last sent one through the Taiwan Strait in December, a move that drew a similar response from China. Despite China's complaints, the Pentagon uses transits through the Taiwan Strait to show resolve to its friends and foes in the region. The USS John Finn, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, sailed through the busy waterway in March after previously doing so in January. And now US military ships and aircraft transit the narrow strait at least once a month. As for will a war break out in Taiwan? All signs might be pointing towards it. You see, China has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control. Under Chinese President Xi Jinping, in fact, Beijing has amassed ships, planes, missiles. It's all part of the largest military buildup by any country in decades. Xi, in fact, has said China must prepare for worst-case scenarios. And from where we sit, the view is not great either. China has become increasingly coercive with all of its neighbors, including the Philippines, Japan, and India. Meanwhile, the US says it is strengthening deterrence in the Taiwan Strait, but it really has been whipping up tensions in the region. Apart from routinely sending ships to sail through the strait, Washington also ratcheted up tensions when the then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August 2022. It did nothing to strengthen Taiwan's defenses. What it did was stoke China's ire. And as a result, China held unprecedented military drills around the island as a show of strength. And now Chinese military activities near Taiwan have become routine with almost daily incursions into the island's airspace. What if the invasion of Taiwan comes before 2027? What if China wants to take advantage of the multiple conflicts that are taking up all of America's attention? Can America sustain another battle? The scales are not tilted in its favor. The Ukraine war has drained its weapon stockpiles. The conflicts in West Asia are taking up all its resources. In the Pacific, it has roped in Australia and the UK to build elite nuclear-powered submarines. But will they arrive quick enough to counter China? It's doubtful. The US is stretched way too thin. And Taiwan should be concerned. Further, the Biden administration's foreign policy does not quite inspire confidence. Just look at America's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. Look at how Ukraine has been left all alone in a way to fight a much bigger and formidable Russian army. Will Taiwan be left alone as well? Trouble is mounting for the Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu. He is drowning in allegations of corruption, opposition calling for an investigation and even a possible impeachment. And as if his diplomatic spat with India was not enough, now he is facing fire at home as well. It is double trouble for Muizzu. The question is it the beginning of the end of Muizzu's term in the office? So the trouble started when an anonymous individual shared leaked intelligence reports on social media. They were uploaded by an account named Hassan Kurusi. What was in these reports? An expose of Muizu's conduct. The documents were dated 2018. They were from the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Maldives Monetary Authority and the Maldives Police Service. So this is credible intel that we are talking about. These reports allegedly linked President Muizu to fraud. There were irregularities in money transfers to his personal bank account. The report suggested Muizu's possible involvement in bribery, embezzlement, structured transactions, and the use of corporate entities to conceal fund origins. Now, these are some very heavy claims. They cannot be taken lightly in any way. And if any of it sticks, Muizu can very well land in hot water. The allegations have sparked a firestorm on social media. Several reactions have poured in. The opposition Maldivian Democratic Party and the People's National Front have demanded an investigation into the matter. Former Vice President Mohammad Jamil Ahmad has called for Muizu's impeachment. Taking to the platform X, he reposted the documents and emphasized on the need for accountability at all levels of governance. In fact, he has leveled some allegations against Muizu himself. Jamil has accused President Muizu of corruption in his Ras Mel development project and alleged excessive spending on public relations. You see, the entire fiasco has handed the opposition fresh ammunition ahead of the parliamentary polls. What does Muizu have to say? He, of course, has denied any wrongdoing and accused the opposition of leaking the reports out of desperation. Muizu said, and I'm quoting now, "While you attempt to pin something on me like this, you could not do it before and you cannot do it now. There's nothing you can show against me, no matter how far you take this." Now, in that case, where has all that money come from? Muizu claims he had earned it by renting his row house to foreign companies, and the rest of it was inherited from his father. Okay, so then how did bribing politicians and embezzlement come into the picture then? And why are there questions around the origin of the funds? If his money is clean, there should be proper record for it, right? The truth is, ever since Muizu came to power, he has been inviting trouble. His campaign had a pro-China bend, and since taking office, he has constantly tried to woo Beijing, even at the cost of upsetting India. But his India Out campaign has largely backfired. He earned the ire from the opposition when he demanded India to withdraw its troops from the Maldives. But that, you see, did not stop him from picking fights with India. In January, he said the Maldives may be small, but that does not give anyone the license to bully it. He also said that the Maldives is not in any country's backyard and that the Indian Ocean does not belong to a single country. All right, so then why is he fine with China bossing him around? Why is he taking favors from Beijing? Why is he allowing Chinese ships to dock at the Maldivian ports? Isn't this hypocrisy? Muizu rightly got an earful from the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar over his bully remark. Dr. S. Jaishankar said that big bullies don't provide $4.5 billion aid when neighboring countries are in distress. And let me add to that, big bullies also do not export generous quantities of essential commodities or entertain requests of hefty debt reliefs. Yes, India has been doing all of that for the Maldives. Muizu may also be blinded by Chinese dreams to see that the Maldives cannot afford bad blood with India, but others are not. He also realized this when tourism in the Maldives took a hit due to his beef with India. So as much as Muizu may hate it, he is loosening his anti-India stance. But there is no end to his troubles, it seems. Before he could begin to appease India, he is faced with fresh problems at home. How will Muizu clear his name of corruption? More importantly, what will further investigation reveal? Is Muizu prepared for that? Well, he better be. Our next story might sound like the plot of a show that you can binge watch, but it happened for real. In fact, it is being called the biggest gold heist in Canada's history. Our next report getting you the complete story.
A heist. Cargo stolen from an airport. And a lot of gold worth an insane amount of money. This story has all the elements for a thriller. Except it's not. This is the real story of what is being called the largest gold heist in Canadian history. 6 people have been arrested and 3 more are being sought in connection with the heist. How much gold are we talking about? A cargo of over $16 million in gold and currency. Yes, $16 million. This case has left people intrigued the world over. How can someone just steal cargo from an airport? Let's tell you how this heist was executed. The suspects forged an airway bill to steal cargo arriving from Switzerland. Airway bills are used to track international shipments. Basically, a fake document was presented at the Air Canada warehouse. The date was 17th April 2023. We're talking about 6,600 gold bars weighing 400 kg and millions in foreign currency. The heist took place at an Air Canada cargo facility at the Toronto Pearson International Airport. The police have named the 9 suspects and detailed the 19 charges they face. Air Canada has said it suspended 1 cargo division employee charged in the theft, and the other, who worked in the same department at the time of the heist, had left the airline before the charges were announced. 2 Indo-Canadian men are among 5 South Asians arrested. Pampal Sidhu, 54 years of age, a former Air Canada employee, and Amit Jalota, 40 years of age, from Oakville. The arrests were announced after a long-year investigation. What about the gold and the money? 1 kg of gold and about $434,000 in Canadian currency have been recovered. What happened to the rest? It is believed that the gold was melted down and the profits from the gold were used to help finance firearms. Firearms? Yes. The police recovered some 65 firearms. Investigators allege these were purchased with the proceeds from the theft. A Swiss bank hired Brinks Company, which is an American cash handling company, to transport the valuables from Zurich, Switzerland to Toronto. Air Canada was to fly the valuables into the country. The gold was offloaded at the cargo holding facility at Toronto Airport. But the gold and currency was missing after a search. Brinks Company and Air Canada have been in a legal dispute since October 2023. Brinks sued Air Canada over the theft. In response, Air Canada has refuted the claims. In a November 8th statement of defense, Air Canada rejected each and every allegation in the Brinks lawsuit. The airline has said it fulfilled its carriage contracts and denied any improper or careless conduct.
Shifting focus for now, the Boeing saga continues. A whistleblower has spoken out before the US Senate and he has made some jarring revelations. His name is Sam Salehpour. We told you about him earlier. Salehpour raised questions about 2 of the plane maker's wide-body jets. He claims He was removed from the 787 program and transferred to the 777 when he flagged safety concerns. Salehpour says he was told to shut up, but he did not want to do that. Here are some bits from what he said before the lawmakers.
I have analyzed Boeing's own data to conclude that the company is taking manufacturing shortcuts on the 787 program that may significantly reduce the airplane safety and the life cycle.
You see, Salehpour claims that Boeing has been taking manufacturing shortcuts for its 787 Dreamliners to fast-track the deliveries. Shortcuts that he says put the passengers' safety at risk. The whistleblower says there have been serious issues on the 787 program, and these issues concern the gaps in the plane's assembly on major joints. These gaps are tiny, but it's very important for them to be properly sealed. And if that does not happen, it leads to safety threats.
Details are that the size of a human hair can be a matter of a life and death. In a rush to address its bottlenecks in production, Boeing hit problems, pushing pieces together with excessive force to make them appear that the gaps don't exist, even though they exist. The gap didn't actually go away, and this may result in premature fatigue failure. Effectively, they are putting out defective airplanes. As a result, I witnessed severe misalignment when the planes were assembled. Boeing manufacturing used unmeasured and unlimited amount of force to correct the misalignment. And this also weakens the airplane in the long run. I literally saw people jumping on the pieces of the airplane to get them to align. I call it the Tarzan effect, among other improper methods. Again, I raised concerns internally. I was sidelined. I was told to shut up. I received physical threats.
In fact, the man is scared for his life. Remember, the last whistleblower who spoke up was found dead in Charleston. He also worked as a quality manager for Boeing. The man had claimed that workers had been deliberately fitting substandard parts to aircraft under pressure. He also spoke about serious problems with oxygen systems, which could mean 1 in 4 breathing masks would not work in an emergency. You see, for the longest time, Boeing has been considered the marquee airline of the United States. It's the country's soft power in a way. But now, that trust and reputation is up in the air. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
This week on the West Asia Post, the decades-long Iran-Israel shadow war is out in the open. After the unprecedented aerial strike by Iran, all eyes are on how Israel will respond and what sanctions will its allies impose on Tehran. On another war front in the West Bank, cross-border exchanges are increasing between Israel and Hezbollah. Also on the show, there is flooding in the desert city of Dubai. All this and more. Catch the West Asia Post only on WION. World is One.
The stage is set for the world's biggest elections as India goes to polls for 102 seats in Phase 1. Spread over 21 states and union territories, millions will decide the fate of 1,625 candidates, 134 of whom are female. The BJP-led NDA is locked in a high-stakes battle with the Congress DMK combined for Tamil Nadu, as the BJP eyes more seats from the south. India elections. WION continuous coverage.
Hundreds rally in Niger capital Niamey for US departure and Russia support as Russian instructors arrive to train Niger forces in the use of new military hardware. Sudan still in turmoil 365 days later as the warring paramilitary and army continue to trade barbs and wreak havoc across the nation. And in Uganda, young wrestlers dream of one day emulating their heroes and joining wild wrestling entertainment. Watch World of Africa at these times on WION. World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Close your eyes.
Do you remember me?
As Dev Patel makes his directorial debut with Monkey Man, we explore why the movie has become the talk of the town. We look at the sudden K-pop deaths that have sent shockwaves across the world. And we also meet Indian actor Priya Mani as she talks about the success of Maidan. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, on WION E-Club at these times.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.